Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Past the Wire TV, another episode of Unfiltered, a little Breeders Cup win and you're in as well. This is Jon Stettin, literally back from beyond. I'm with co-host Jim Gazzale, who was subbing. Last week, Jim, you were subbing for me. This week, you're subbing for Mike. So I don't think we can call you a sub anymore. I think we're going to call you just another co-host.
That's fine by me. Happy to pitch in whenever you need me.
Yeah, no, you've been tremendous. So we got some interesting things to talk about. Before we get to the Breeders' Cup win and you're in horses, let's talk a little bit about who's also a Breeders' Cup horse, but Nest. How dominant she was, what you thought of who she faced, and what's your take on her and Flightline, in my opinion, being two of the shortest priced favorites that we have seen in the Breeders' Cup Distaff and the Breeders' Cup Classic in quite some time.
Yeah, I think looking at it, obviously we're still several weeks away, but just looking at it, it does seem like the chalk is sticking out in a handful of these races. Nest, she's been absolutely lights out since, I thought her Belmont was fantastic, even though she finished second. And even after that, then winning those two other races at Saratoga, and then following that up with another win at Aqueduct, she looks fantastic. And I think it'll be between her and Malathaat. Obviously, I think I saw today Latruska is not going to make the distaff, which probably makes the most sense. I didn't think she had much of a chance in any of the races that she ran in, middle of this year and beyond. But Nest is always impressive. Her last couple of races have been, absolute standouts. So I'm excited to see her go against some of the older girls and see what she can do against them.
I agree. And I'm not so sure that who she's been facing is really all that important, because I think you bring out a good point. I think, one, her race against the boys in the Belmont was an outstanding race, I thought. Her other races, she's, starting to win them easy now. And there's nobody really in the older horses. Malathaat, she's really good, but she's not exactly a gem of consistency. I mean, she's been beaten a couple of times. Ness just really looks like she's just really good and really getting better. And I think we're going to see I think she's going to be the favorite, and I think she's going to be a shorter price than a lot of people are thinking. I think she'll be a heavier favorite than most people think. I think the same about Flightline. Obviously, he's going to be a heavy favorite. I think he's going to be even shorter than a lot of people think.
Yeah, I think Nest is that, usually we talk about this with the Colts, right? Where you have the 2-year-olds that develop into 3-year-olds, and the pressure's on them to develop early in their 3-year-old season so they can be on the Triple Crown trail. She's been a little bit of the opposite. I think she might have came up a little bit short in the Kentucky Oaks with just some seasoning and maybe needed to mature a little bit. And we've seen that now in the second half of the year. And I think that's going to really set her apart in the distaff. I'm just looking at some Brisnet speed figures. In her last race in the Beldame, she got a 107 Briz speed figure. Malathaat got a 105 for her effort in the Spinster. Maybe splitting hairs between those two. But I'm with you. I think Nest is an absolute knockout, and I'll be excited to see her run, and let everybody else throw their money behind some of the others. We could get a little bit of a better price on Nest. That would be welcome news for me, I think.
Interesting. Michael Wilson, who's not on the show tonight, his question for the show that he wanted us to talk about was, and he was kind of making a concession that I am not ready to make. But he was like, the question is, which Todd Pletcher horse wins the distaff, Malathaat or Nest? Me, when it comes to racing, I'm never of the opinion that it's as cut and dry as people tend to think it is.
Sure.
And I don't know that I don't know right now that I would go as far as to say, Todd Pletcher is going to definitely win the distaff.
Who else is there?
Including that. Oh, I got a sneaky horse in it. Well, I don't know. Maybe sneaky is not the right word. I personally have not given up on Clairiere.
Yeah.
I have a legitimate excuse for her last race. I think she was getting really, really good before that. If she goes, and I don't know that she is, but if she goes, I like her coming in fresh. I think she is a dangerous horse to assume can't bounce back off the race at Saratoga. That was a bit of a flop where she got hit coming out of the gate. And, I'll tell you, a lot of people underestimate gate bumps, okay? And it goes back to a big debate that occurred after Bayern. Were you into racing when Bayern won the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Well, you probably remember that, Shared Belief took a hell of a bump coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
And the ruling on the track, which a lot of people didn't agree with, that was that, and this ruling pretty much holds up all over the place. As inconsistent as stewards can be, and we have seen some inconsistent stewards opening week at Keeneland Falls meet, at the fall meet this year, but as inconsistent and sometimes inexplicable as stewards can be, they did give an explanation of their decision in that race that I didn't agree with. A lot of people didn't agree with. But basically, the thought process, which is carried over, was that, well, it was a hard bump, but it was coming out of the gate, so Shared Belief had plenty of time to recover. Okay. I completely disagree with that, and I think that opinion shows a complete disconnect from the athleticism involved in horse racing. And I'll give you an example. And I always used to like to use boxing examples. Okay, if the two boxers that are pretty equal are going to fight, okay, and one of them gets to punch the other one in the chest square before the bell rings for round one, he knocks his wind out. The bell rings for round one. My money's on the guy that threw that punch, not on the guy that took it. Okay, it's very difficult when you get your wind knocked out to recover while you're competing. It's not like Shared Belief had 30 or 45 seconds to walk around behind the gate, get himself back together, catch his breath, settle down, then go run the race. Bang, he got slammed. The race is running. He had to catch up. He went right into it. So to me, gate fouls and gate bumps have a much bigger impact on the outcome of races than a lot of people give them credit for. Clairiere took a hard bump in that race at Saratoga, might have knocked the wind out of her. You might be able to draw a line through that race. She'll be somewhat of a forgotten horse come Breeders' Cup Day. A lot of focus will be on Nest. A lot of focus will be on Malathaat. There'll be others in there always that are getting attention. And I think that had that race not happened the way it did, and she, won or ran better in that race, she'd be in every conversation about who might win the distaff, even with as good as Nest is. So she might, in my opinion, be the forgotten dangerous horse.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Looking back at that last race, certainly just draw a line through it, and she did get the better of Malathaat in the two prior races to that. So, it seemed like they were, Malathaat got the better of Clairiere a bunch last year. Clairiere kind of turned the tables on Malathaat this year. So I think you're on to something. You'll probably get a pretty decent price on Clairiere. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Nest can fare against those two. So, but
yeah, no, for sure. And let me tell you, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Clairiere can bounce back with a big race and it still not be good enough to beat Nest if Nest just keeps getting better and better. There's absolutely no question that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
So, we saw a lot of Breeders' Cup horses this past week. A lot of winning you're in races. Which one you lead the way? Which one you want to talk about first?
All right. Let's just start at the top here, the way they got them listed on the website. So Manny Wah in the Phoenix Stakes at Keeneland.
Manny Wah, in my opinion, is kind of a cut below, underachiever kind of horse. I think he got a really, really good setup. He got up on the inside in that race. Everything kind of went right. Everything fell into place. And he got a win that, as kind of, a tough win like that, that's kind of eluded him for a while. Is that going to happen again in the Breeders' Cup? It's probably not. The best thing he has going for him, in my opinion, is that he comes from off the pace, and he'll probably get a hot taste to chase. And I'm a horse for course guy. I always like horses that have won over specific tracks, and he's obviously won at Keeneland. So, the Breeders' Cup being at Keeneland, I think gives him a little bit of an upgrade. But I would call him a horse to put on the pretender list, or at least on the upset list.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it was a fine race, kind of, I don't know. I just think, to your point, I think he's just a cut below, and, I don't even know that his best race would be enough against a little bit of a salty field that he's going to step up against for sure.
I agree. I agree. All right, we're on the same page there. He goes on the pretender / upset list.
Next is the Jessamine Stakes Delight, also from Saturday.
Yeah, see, those kind of races and those kind of lightly raced horses are, in my opinion, very tough to gauge. I mean, she had a heck of a run down the lane. She was loaded. I think she's dangerous. I think she's good. She obviously likes the course. Sharp barn, no knocks whatsoever on that lightly raced filly that's just getting better. I think she handled what I thought was a pretty good field and did it relatively easily. I think she's a player for sure. Now, How she's going to stack up against some of the European fillies that come over here remains to be seen. I'm not sure who's coming and who's staying, but I label her a player for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty impressive. Stretching out from 7.5 furlongs to a mile and a 16th to kind of improve the way she did and do it, like you said, relatively easily, I thought was pretty impressive. I don't know, this race, the Breeders' Cup race, is going to be at a mile. So do we like that little cutback in distance off of this longer effort? I don't know, what is there a typical handicapping angle on that, do you think?
I think there is. I personally like it, especially, it's a case-by-case basis. But here you have a filly who went 7.5, was able to handle the stretch out, now cuts back to the mile. She's going to be full of run. I don't think, that cutback is really anything that's going to affect her too much pace-wise. And I think it's only going to make her less likely to be tired or have any trouble finishing as strong as she did in the Jessamine.
Yeah,
I think it works to her advantage.
Yeah, I think just looking at the way that race usually plays, the juvenile fillies turf. I think she fits from the figure standpoint. I think we'll see what Euros ship into town and how she stacks up against those. But it's like we know which American horses are going to be there, but it always seems like the Europeans, they wait until the last minute to commit. So we'll have to play that one by ear. But I think I agree. I think she's definitely in the mix of the contender ranks.
Yeah, and there's a couple of 2-year-old fillies over there that look really good. So she, depending on who comes, she could wind up having her hands full for sure.
Yeah. So the next one was Wonder Wheel in the Alcibiades. I thought she was quite impressive, but there's some others in there in that race that I thought ran quite well too. What did you make of that race?
I kind of agree with you on the others that ran quite well. I think, yeah, she was impressive. I can't really put my finger on why, Jim, but there was something about her race that didn't scream to me she was going to go forward again in the Breeders' Cup. I think she kind of brought her A game and best race last weekend, and I just don't know that she's going to go forward off it. I don't know that she's going to get that same kind of trip on the lead that way. I'm not going to say she's a pretender by any stretch of the imagination. She's obviously a contender. She's earned the right to be there and to warrant respect. But if you put a gun to my head, I would say I got a feeling somebody's going to be better than her come Breeders' Cup weekend.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if it's somebody else that's also coming out of that same race.
Yeah, I thought she pretty much had, the dream trip really. So, and I think she'll take a lot of money. So I think I'll probably end up looking elsewhere. I don't know that she definitely won't be a total toss for me, but I think I'll place more of my wagering dollars elsewhere.
I tend to agree at this early stage. I was not, I didn't walk away from that like, wow, I can't wait to see her run back. I'm really not sure she's going to go forward off that race.
Yeah, like for me, I think that that horse Chop that finished second, I'd be more inclined to look there. She had to come from a bit out of it. She was 11th early on and, missed by a nose. So just looking at it, the eye test, I thought that Chop Chop looked like the one that I would want to bet back coming out of that, more so than Wonder Wheel.
No argument. She did make a nice big move in there. That was the race that, correct me if I'm wrong, Raging Sea was in as well, right?
Yeah. And she didn't run half bad either.
I thought she ran, in my humble opinion, the best of anybody, believe it or not. And I think a lot of people are not going to think that because she bore out late, got DQ'd, was involved in the inquiry.
Yeah.
I think she was a little green, had every right to get a little tired, was stuck on the rail, taking dirt the whole way around after winning just one sprint, got thrown to the wolves. I thought ran very credible. I thought if she got out easier and smoother, she might have finished a little better. I think that she showed a lot of gameness and toughness, fighting every step of the way. Even when she wasn't going to win and catch Wonder Wheel, she kept digging in. After the bump, she kept digging in. I thought, my comment was that if Chad runs her back in the Breeders' Cup and he thinks that she's going to go forward off that race, I think she would be, in my opinion, the horse coming out of that race to watch. Because with that two-turn race under the belt, with a little experience from rallying just off the pace, like she did, I think that looked like the kind of race that she would get a lot out of and be very tough going forward. Now, she may not go to the Breeders' Cup. She may go somewhere else, and he may want to give her some time after a tough race like that. I don't know that she's going to go, but if she does, I say look out.
Yeah. No argument for me. I think that all makes sense. She was fine, and certainly room to improve off of that effort.
Let me just apologize to everybody. If anybody who's watching and wondering why I've got no video, we do have power back. It's a little sporadic at times. Internet is back. Usually going strong, but as luck has been a little bit on the rough side the past couple of weeks, time to record our show, internet is taking a break. So that's why you're not looking at my face. You're looking at a picture.
It's all good. We'll put a nice graphic up there so it's pleasing to the eye.
It's actually better. Nobody needs to be looking at me at this stage of the game. It's actually better that we use a graphic. We get better ratings with a graphic.
Yeah. So elite power in the Vosburg. I don't know that we need to spend too much time on this race. I think it came up rather weak overall, and I'm not sure elite power has much of a chance in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, in my opinion.
I'm not going to argue that. I mean, he's winning easy. That the Vosburg did come up ridiculously easy. He didn't beat anybody that would be any type of a contender in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I think he's going to see a whole different level of horse and speed, and I tend to agree.
Yeah, because one thing I wanted to ask you about, so you've got Jackie's Warrior in here coming off of a loss where he finally faced a little bit more pressure on the front end than normal, and it looked like it kind of wore him down. Fractions were fairly normal for him, but what do you make of that last effort in the Forgo from Jackie's Warrior, and where do you think he lands in the Breeders' Cup? Obviously probably be an odds-on favorite, I would imagine. But what do you make of his chances?
I think he's got a really good chance. I don't put too much stock into that race he lost, and I think that a big factor for me and how I kind of rate him in the sprint. Obviously pace and who else is in there and all of that. But where he draws, I think he's a lot more dangerous if he draws outside and Joel has more options with him and has to, worry less about the trip and just kind of can let him do his thing, whether it be on the lead, right off the lead, a little bit off the lead and make an early move. I think outside he gets to relax, kind of get his own stride and get his own rhythm going. And I think that makes him a lot more dangerous than if he's in the 1 or 2 hole and Joel has to, commit to going or sit and then hope to get that seam at the right time. Because it's very tough to get that seam. I mean, I'll give you an example. If you wanted to go back and watch, and unfortunately I can't remember the winner, but if you go back and watch the Breeders' Cup Sprint that Jimmy Creed ran in, who's a somewhat popular stallion. Garrett Gomez rode him in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He drew outside. I'm 100%. He drew inside and got buried on the inside. I'm 100% convinced had he drawn outside, he'd have won the Breeders' Cup Sprint that year. And I think he ran into Malibu afterwards and annihilated the field. And I sat there thinking, man, if he drew outside in the Breeders' Cup, he would have won. So I think Jackie's Warrior is kind of a little bit draw dependent.
Yeah. Looking last year, he finished 6th in the Breeders' Cup and he was drawn on the inside, broke from the 2-post in a 9-horse field. So I think that all makes sense. I just wonder, fine effort, from a speed figure standpoint, wasn't way off of what he normally runs. So I wonder, if this little freshening, skipping a prep race here and just running right into the Breeders' Cup serves him well.
I think it does.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be his last race. They already announced he's retiring after this. So, we'll see. But yeah, I don't know that I'd necessarily want anybody coming out of that Vosburg race over the weekend.
I agree.
All right. So the Thoroughbred Club of America Slammed won this race on Saturday. What'd you make of that one?
I thought Slammed was impressive. Really nice filly. Fast, good. But I just have to think that, maybe I'm wrong. I just think she's going to face better come Breeders' Cup Day than she did that day. And I don't know that she's as good as the best of the filly sprinters. I think there are better, faster filly sprinters than her, and they'll show up and she'll have her hands full. Yeah,
I agree. Just looking, name recognition alone, just making a wild guess. I can't see her even being in, the top 5 choices, maybe.
Right.
But I guess from a speed figure standpoint, she's not impossible, but probably not likely.
I agree.
All right.
I agree.
Annapolis in the Turf Mile. I was really excited by this one. I thought this was a bang up race, and I'm excited to see what happens in the Breeders' Cup with this one. What did you think?
He surprised me. I did not think he was going to win. I thought he was competitive, and I thought, he belonged and deserved a shot, but I didn't think he was going to win. He really stepped up, beat older horses, showed he belongs. He's lightly raced. He's getting better. He's got nothing but upside and potential. I mean, I think it'd be a mistake not to take him seriously. I think his major problem is going to be, I mean, Order of Australia was in that race. He's a Breeders' Cup winner, but he was a Breeders' Cup winner at 100 to 1 or something ridiculous like that. I think there are going to be, a different level of European horses he's going to have to step up again and beat. He's definitely got my attention. He's definitely got the potential to do it. He's definitely on the radar. But like with the other horse I said this about, if you put a gun to my head, I would say I got a feeling there's going to be somebody better than him on that day.
Yeah, I think that whole race goes through Modern Games. I would have to imagine, that Woodbine Mile effort was just an explosion of speed and power and excitement down the stretch there at Woodbine. I thought Modern Games really kind of towers over this field almost, but that effort from Annapolis, I think, not by a lot, but maybe narrowed that margin a little bit, I would think.
If Modern Games runs back to the Woodbine Mile, the race is probably for second.
Yes.
I mean, and that really, that you brought him up, that makes, and even Jackie's Warrior, you've got 4 very short price horses that we talked about already for the Breeders' Cup. Maybe it's me, and I'm not really like a stat guy, so, and I never look this stuff up. I always just wing it off memory. But I don't remember there being, a lot of Breeders' Cups where you have that many short price horses,
we usually reserve those for the big days in New York. All the short price favorites coming in.
Right. Exactly. This you've got for a Breeders' Cup type card, we're going to have some short price horses. The key to the pick 4s, pick 5s, pick 6s is going to not be those singles. Is going to be the the horse that either beats one of those horses or, a single in one of the other races that allows you to really go heavy on those horses and have it for $10 or $20, and that not have a single that everybody doesn't have.
Yeah. I just looking at some of the probables for this race, in addition to Modern Games, Annapolis, like we talked about, Casa Creed, no slouch. Ivar dances every dance and is, always within a nose of winning a race. Who else? Regal Glory is another quality horse that 12 for 21 lifetime. I mean, these numbers are just impressive top to bottom. And if Modern Games doesn't bring the A game, then you could get a nice little chunk of change in your pocket if you've got the right opinion on who might be playing for second.
Right, and the other thing is there are some good European milers too that might show up. So that's the flip side of that coin. We're not sure which one of those horses are coming yet either.
Yeah. All right, this was a good race over the weekend as well. The Breeders Futurity and Forte winning that under a cloud of some minor controversy. What did you think of that stretch run between him and Loggins?
I thought it was interesting, and I can't say whether I think the right call was made or not because I don't have as good enough camera angle and I don't have the benefit of hearing what the riders said. But it looked to me like Irad made... I'm sorry, I lost you for a minute. There is no doubt Irad was trying to intimidate the other horse with the whip. I think that was very, very obvious. Did he cross the line? I would say I can't tell without without a better camera angle and without talking to the riders, because my main question is, did he make contact with his whip with the rider on the inside, Florent Giroux, or the horse? I think if he did, then he should have come down and you've got a legitimate gripe. I just don't know whether he did or not. If he didn't, then he masterfully intimidated and race rode Giroux to perfection, roughly, albeit, but you know, possibly not enough to come down. Looked like very similar to what he did to Zandon in the Remsen last year when he rode Mo Donegal and Velasquez was on the inside with Zandon. He did something very similar, and I thought that he made contact then, and they ruled no. So I don't know if he made contact or not. I think if he did, then it's an automatic DQ. But he certainly intimidated him and rough rode him, and it was obviously by design.
Yeah, the head-on that I watched, you know, the whip was definitely out in front of Loggins, but it didn't look.
And
like,
I saw as well. I saw that as well.
It didn't look like he actually hit the other horse with it, though. I feel like if he did, you know, maybe we would got a little bit of a different reaction from the horse. But I didn't see that with my eyes.
I couldn't tell. Right. Yeah. And I admittedly couldn't tell. You know, I just couldn't tell. I wasn't sure. And maybe if the stewards had the only view that we had and they weren't sure, then maybe it's the right call, because if you're not sure, you can't take him down. But I certainly would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for what both riders said. I would certainly love to hear Florent Giroux's take on whether or not he made contact.
Yeah,
you know, in the old days.
Go ahead.
In the old days, you ride somebody like that, you'd have a fight in the jocks room. You know, that's you know, I like riding like that. I like rough riding and race riding, as long as you stay within the rules, you know, and I'm okay with stretching them and bending them and getting away with what you can get away with if it's not dangerous. And I think that, you know, that might be what we saw. He just really just pinned him on the rail, used the whip to intimidate him, and, you know, just outrode him, so to speak.
Yeah, the controversy, I think, was kind of maybe a little bit amplified given the DQ that the stewards at Keeneland pulled on the day before, on that
100%.
Friday, with Joel Rosario drifting out, and
right.
They took that.
It was that, and it was the fact that it was Irad, and people are of the opinion that Irad gets away with things that other riders don't, and there was definitely a controversial DQ of Rosario bearing out like that. But, you know, like I said earlier in the show, Jim, I'm at this point, I'm tired of talking about the inconsistencies of stewards from race to race, day to day, meet to meet. I'm tired of writing about it. I don't even try and figure it out anymore. Okay? When they put up a DQ and they show, I'm like, I have no idea what these guys are going to do. Nobody does, because there's no set past performances or history to go on. None. Yeah. And I'll tell you something interesting. There's a history to that, okay? And it ties in a little bit to what we were talking about earlier about coming out of the gate. There was a time, okay? I grew up around New York racing, and there was a time when if you fouled somebody coming out of the gate, you got taken down. And if you fouled somebody during the course of the race, you got taken down. And that was pretty much the rule. And you know, a foul was a foul. And when they put up the inquiry or a jockey's objection and they showed the isolated camera angle or the head-on, you pretty much knew 99.9% of the time what was going to happen. There was very little controversy. There was very little argument. There was very little margin for error. And what happened, Jim, was people started complaining. Well, this horse won by 3 lengths. Yeah, he fouled him, but the other horse was never going to beat him. And that became a common cry. And that introduced the whole subjective nature of category 2 and category 3 and category 1 and column A and column B and column C. And did he cost them a better finish? Did he cost them a chance at a better finish? And all of that becomes subjective. We can't agree on that, okay? We're always going to argue those. What you can agree on is, was it a foul or was it not a foul? So in my opinion, the old way, which everybody wanted to get away from, actually worked better. And I like the way that they do it in some other jurisdictions, like how they do it in the UK is very hard to get taken down, more likely get a fine. Hong Kong, same way. They'll fine the rider and suspend the rider, but not change the order of finish, because the thought is, why penalize the better? They didn't do anything wrong. So there's some merit to that as well. I think both of those ways are better than how we do it. But I'm in the minority on the category 1, category 2 nonsense. I like the old way. I think these are the rules. If you foul, you get DQ'd. Never mind whether anybody thinks, well, it cost them a better placing or it cost them a chance at a better placing. Who knows the true answer to that? Nobody. It's just subjective. It's a matter of opinion. I say take the subjectiveness away, make it objective, clearly defined rules, and enforce them fairly across the board. That would be the way that I would be most comfortable. But again, most people disagree because they say, I don't want a horse that I have that wins by 5 taken down because he fouled somebody that was never going to beat him. Well, take that up with the rider. Tell him not to foul him next time. That's my attitude. But again, it's not the popular opinion.
Yeah, this Forte and Loggins debate might be all for naught, because they both got to go up against Cave Rock, who has been the uber impressive Bob Baffert trainee who took down the American Pharoah Stakes over the weekend out at Santa Anita, and is just looking like another absolute stud in Baffert's barn coming into this race. So Forte and Loggins and Forte, however you want to look at that race we were just talking about, they've both got to contend with Cave Rock, and they're certainly going to have their hands full.
I tend to agree with that, and that's odds-on favorite number 5.
Yeah.
So we're up to 5 odds-on favorites.
The speed figures are they just jump off the page at you when you flip through here. Just that last race, what was it? 107 Brisnet speed figure. He's just improved 104, 105, 107, and just looks like an absolute monster.
Yeah, and it's going to be funny because if he wins the Breeders' Cup, he'll be the 2-year-old champion, and ineligible to run in the Kentucky Derby unless they move him to somebody else. Yeah.
I was watching that replay earlier, and the horse that finished second there, National Treasure, I thought ran a bang up race.
So did I.
Kind of hung in there along with some pretty strong fractions early on, and only lost by 5 1/4 lengths. I don't know that he can close that gap with Cave Rock, but I think this National Treasure horse would be somebody to look at going into the Triple Crown trail. I would definitely keep my eye on him.
No argument. No argument for me. What did you think? What was your take on the $3.7 million horse, Hijazi, that they ran in that race as well? That a lot of people thought, myself included, that he was going to get better when he stretched out off those 2s in maiden sprints, and he really he didn't get worse, but I don't think he got better. I think he kind of ran the same kind of race.
Yeah, it seemed pretty even. In my opinion, I don't know. Nothing really stuck out to me. Nothing was like super impressive, or there was no like real real excuse either. I think the competition was just a little bit better than him. We'll have to see, what his next race brings. Might have a better opinion and understanding of where this horse is at in relation to others, after one more.
Agreed.
Also at Santa Anita, the Chandelier Stakes and Tell Me No Lies. I thought she was pretty impressive over the weekend. What did you think?
I thought she was pretty impressive. I thought a couple that were in there didn't really fire, didn't bring their A games. I'm not sure that race doesn't look a little bit on paper that it better than it really was. Yeah, she was impressive. I'm not going to take anything away from her, but I don't know. I think a couple didn't really show up with their A games, and I think that made it, look a little better for her than it really truly was.
Yeah. Yeah, no disagreement from me. I think Speed Figure came back okay. Yeah, I think she can kind of mix it up with some of the other ones here. But I think we'll I'm probably just take a wait and see approach with her. I think I like some of the other horses that we spoke about earlier just a tad more, like Chop
I agree.
and Raging Sea, personally.
I agree.
Going to Vegas, the Rodeo Drive Stakes. This horse is just always entertaining. I think she just shows up, does her thing, and wins.
I agree. I think she's a really nice horse. She's dead game. I thought Umberto Rispoli rode an excellent race on her. He put her right where she was supposed to be, and he put her right into the Breeders' Cup. Unfortunately for her, there's one major concern, and that's historically, California horses, for whatever reason, have a tendency not to run well at Keeneland.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. She's a California horse, tried and true, so she's got that going against her. Does that mean she's a toss? No way. There are some that win, and she's a really nice horse, and she kind of makes her own trip. She can take it right to the lead, and she can kind of sit right off somebody if somebody wants to go crazy. So I respect her. And I respect Rispoli in big races. I think he's an excellent big race rider when he's got the right horse. So I think dangerous.
Yeah, just looking at her past performances, really the only toss out is last year's Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf at Del Mar. Kind of ran a clunker there, but everything else has been pretty impressive. Doesn't seem like she's had any drop off from 4 to 5. And, I think Rispoli staying in California and just dominating the turf out there, I think he's going to look back in a couple of years and say, you know what, I think I made the right decision with that one.
Oh, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it.
The Futurity at Aqueduct, Nagarok, I think is how you pronounce it. What'd you make of that one? I don't know that anyone out of there really caught my eye all that much.
I agree. I think that was a really a light race in comparison to some of the others. There's some maiden breakers and maidens out there that haven't run back yet, or that have run and not even one that I think might be better than some of the ones in that field.
Yeah. This seems to be like a little bit of an even effort from when she broke her maiden. A little bit of a quick turnaround though. She ran on the 24th of September and then on October 9th. So I wonder if this was just like, maybe they really wanted to find a way into the Breeders' Cup, and they were able to make it happen. But I think come race day, I'll probably prefer a handful of others over her.
No argument.
The Indian Summer Stakes, Private Creed, Joel Rosario on the turf. What'd you think about that one?
I like that horse. I think that's a really nice horse. I think, you know, no knock on that horse. I like him. I like him. I think he's good. I think he's getting better. I think he gets the right kind of trip. I think he's a little bit more versatile than people think. I think the biggest question with him is a question that we've raised with some of the others is, you know, of the horses here in the U.S., I think he's right there. The Euros, I got to see who's in there. But from the U.S. standpoint, he's in my opinion right with the top of them.
Yeah, I mean these turf sprints are always kind of nuts. They're like seemingly impossible to handicap. But you know, certainly will be a fast race, and you know, anytime you can get Joel Rosario on the turf, you know, you gotta feel pretty good about your chances, I think.
I agree.
All right.
I would say the same thing on the dirt, but some people like to criticize him on the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there were some rides a few years ago on the dirt at Saratoga where you're just like, oh my God, this guy is the greatest rider of all time. Like, I don't know if you recall when he won on Mind Your Biscuits at Saratoga a few years ago. I was just like a master class in how to ride. I thought that was probably, you know, if you look back at his career highlight reel when it's all said and done, I think that one will be, you know, top 2 or 3.
Yeah. No argument.
We spoke about Malathaat earlier. She won the Spinster at Keeneland over the weekend. So we already touched on her. So rounding out the win and you're in races, there were a bunch of them over the weekend, is the Bourbon Stakes at Keeneland, and the winner was, and the winner is. What did you think about this one?
I thought that was a very wide open, very contentious race. I think that was the horse that stepped up that day from a very wide post. I thought Pratt rode a great race. No knock, but again, gut feeling, somebody will be better than him come Breeders' Cup Day.
Yeah, certainly improving in every start, which is what you like to see, I think, coming into the Breeders' Cup. The second Breeders' Cup starter that Wayne Catalano will have, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, absolutely. I think others are just faster. You know, obviously anything can happen on the day, but I think just looking at it on the page, others appear to be faster. Their figs are faster. Even that Deer District who ran second, I thought ran fairly well. I'd be interested in paying closer attention to that horse moving forward. So we'll see. But yeah, I think I agree with you that there's other horses in there that would seem more likely come Breeders' Cup Day.
I tend to agree.
What did you make of that third place horse there, though? That really good for Mike Maker. I mean, he always pops up with good stakes level horses. And, again, the horse continues to improve every time out. Maybe another forward move is in order.
No argument. And Makers, he's just so tough. He's always competitive, and he's the kind of guy that even when he doesn't look competitive, he sometimes is competitive. He's just he's just always in the fight. He really is. Even with these claimers, he claims them. He moves them into stakes. He moves them back down into claimers if they don't pan out. He's just good at every level, and he's just always punching, always in the fight. And he's a really, really dangerous guy to toss. I mean, I can't even remember how many times over the years I've tossed him with horses I thought, no shot, 20-1, and bang, pops up and beats you.
Yeah, exactly. That was it. That was oh man, there's probably close to a dozen winning your ins.
I think that wraps up the winning your in races in the United States. I think we're all done now.
Yeah, there might be one or two over in Europe, but yeah, stateside, it's all wrapped up.
Listen, I'm excited for the Breeders' Cup. I'm excited to beat some of these heavy favorites. I'm excited to maybe even, key a couple of them. I think we've got a heck of a Breeders' Cup coming up. I'm excited about it. I really am. We've got our Breeders' Cup Past the Wire annual seminar coming up. We're going to be out there doing all kinds of interesting stuff in the mornings and in the afternoon on Past the Wire TV. I'm looking forward to that. So we are in. I mean, Keeneland's still running, but we're in kind of getting in Breeders' Cup mode.
We are certainly in Breeders' Cup mode. We'll be on the rail, drinking coffee in the morning and watching the horses breeze.
Absolutely. Scoping them out.
One quick question before we wrap up here. You mentioned a couple times we're looking at some heavy favorites coming in. As briefly as you can, because I'm sure this is probably going to be a loaded question. What's your strategy to make money when we're looking at five heavy favorites? Are you keying them on top of verticals and looking for some long shots underneath, or are you just trying to beat them outright, or are you playing horizontal bets where you don't even bother including them on your ticket and you're just looking for a massive windfall, or some combination of the three? What's your strategy?
You're right. It's a loaded question, case by case basis. I like to look to bet to put myself in position for a massive windfall. So I can tell you this: I'm not gonna, single all of them, obviously, unless I was betting one, $1,000 pick five, which is one horse in each race, and the odds of me doing that are very, very slim. So I'm going to probably pick the one I think is the surest winner of all of them, maybe single that one. Then I'm going to try and find another single that nobody has, or that nobody's going to single, and everybody's going to spread in that race. And then that gives me room to do whatever I want in the other races where I could use or not use those favorites depending on how I feel. But I'll definitely put myself in position to beat some of them for sure. There are some of them that I'm definitely going to take stands against. Absolutely.
So if I'm reading between the lines correctly, based on everything that we talked about over the last hour, if you needed to put your ticket in right now, it would be a Clairiere single in your horizontal wagers, I think.
That's an astute observation.
I'll
leave it at that. That's an astute. And again, I don't handicap in advance like that, but yeah, if you told me, all right, gun to your head, John, you got to put your ticket in tonight. You know what I mean? I'd probably there's as good a chance I'd stand with her as anybody else. So yes, that's an astute observation about how I approach the game. Yes.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap it up here.
And you see, what people don't realize, Jim, is when you do that, okay, it gives you so much room everywhere else. You know what I mean?
Right. I know.
It just creates so much opportunity. You know what I mean?
You get nervous though, singling the third or fourth choice even.
I don't get nervous singling 20 to 1 shot.
I mean the general public gets nervous.
This game is not for the faint of heart. They need to get if they're getting nervous over that, they're in the wrong game.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
My adrenaline kicks in when they're going in the gate, but nervous, no, man.
Yeah.
When you see me get nervous, you should panic.
Okay.
You know, that's all I'll say. All right. If you see me get nervous, panic. Because something's bad. Something's not right.
Right.
So I love those things, and looking forward to a great Breeders' Cup season with you. We're going to have a lot of fun. Hopefully Michael Wilson is back next week. Hopefully we have internet next week. We got it. We just got it intermittently. And me and you will be rendezvousing in Lexington before we know it.
Yep. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait. 22 days away.
Right. Yep. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate all of you. Pass the Wire TV, Unfiltered, Winning Your Ring. Thanks to Tropical Racing, Amwager, Spencer Farm, everybody else who sponsors us, helps us out. Game of Silk, Team Valor now, this McMahon Thoroughbreds. We're starting to get some attention and people notice us, and we appreciate them all.
And take a good look.
History remembers moments of extraordinary strength, skill, and determination. True greatness is forged by those who fulfill their destiny.